Hey everyone! Is Zenless Zone Zero a success? Well, kind of in a way. Surprisingly, it outperformed Wuthering Waves in its first 5 days of release, 24 million to just 10 million from Wuwa. I must say this is a bit of a shock because Zenless Zone Zero has been such a controversial game, but despite that, it's still a Hoyo game. And also, this is the first month of the game's release, which in most of these popular games is always one of the best months. The reason I believe it outperformed Wuwa is because they released a female character first as compared to Wuwa, and everyone knows that in Gacha female characters usually do better overall. Although ZZZ outperformed Wuwa, it actually didn't even come close to outperforming Genshin or Honkai on release, and this could be seen as somewhat of a disappointment overall. Genshin made 35 million and Honkai made a massive 55 million the first 5 days, while ZZZ only made 25 million. But just because ZZZ outperformed Wuwa according to the Apple Store and Google Play Store in the first 5 days doesn't mean it will outperform them the first month overall. Because Wuwa did release Yinlin, which boosted their sales dramatically. So we will have to wait and see the final numbers in next month's Sensor Tower revenue report. My impressions of ZZZ is that it's a pretty good game, and I've enjoyed it for many reasons, but I don't think it's better than any of the other 3 games previously mentioned. But it's comparable. My hope is that it will get better over time and maybe have some unique features that outshine its competitors. My favorite thing about ZZZ is the combat, mainly boss fights. For instance, I found their weekly bosses to be the most fun out of all the games mentioned. I also really enjoyed Hollow Zero and Sayu Defense from what I've played on them so far. I'm only level 31, so I haven't gotten to the more challenging fights, but I found from what I've played of these 2 modes, the early levels are a good introduction to the content, getting more difficult compared to story mode. Which should be obvious because story mode is easy in all of these gacha games. I think, like Wuthering Waves, the draw to this game will be the combat because it's what stands out the most. Because I think that while some of the aspects of the game are good, some aren't so great. I have mixed feelings on the character models. For instance, I did pull for Ellen and I'm currently working on trying to get her weapon. But out of all the 4 limited characters we know about, she seems like the best, and the other 3 don't pique my interest. Like after playing Zhu Yan, I enjoyed her gameplay, but it just didn't feel as good as Alan's dodge mechanic. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pull for her or not, and sadly, the 1.1 characters drip marketed that are coming out I don't find too appealing. But that's just my opinion, and others may like their aesthetics and abilities when they come out. One of the actual most promising things about the game is the potential for the open world. Well, the instance world, rather. While it's not big so far, I think it will be a decent size as the game progresses. Once I got to Chapter 3, it sent me to a new zone which was a lot bigger than the starter zone. And I believe that the developers will create a pretty lively world as time goes on based on what they already have given us. And this is personal preference, but what I love the most and what will probably keep me playing this game overall is the fact that there is no exploration. In Wuwa, Genshin, and even Honkai, exploring is something I struggle with and it takes me a while to get around to. So in ZZZ, it's nice that I don't have to always feel the pressure to explore so I can get premium currency. But I do hope we have some kind of way to get those rewards in ZZZ that you would get in other exploration games in some sort of way. Because exploration rewards really help many players get the pull currency they need. Overall, it'll be interesting to see months from now how Zenless Zone Zero holds up against the powerhouses that are Genshin, Honkai, and now Wuwa. From what it looks like currently, these other games have a lot more interest. So I think ZZZ has some catching up to do, but making 25 million in the first 5 days is a great start, and I am so excited to see if these numbers grow over the course of the month. And if it will out-earn the big 3 in the Gacha Space for the month of July. I do think one major change that will have to happen is the TV system. I have to admit, playing through the TVs was not a fun experience, and it's by far the worst part of the game. And with it being integrated into the story so often, I have concerns that many people won't get too far into the game because they can't stand the TVs. At the very least, maybe the game should add a skip button for the TVs just like they have one for the story. Because this system, as much as it's hated, really could be the overall downfall of the game. So what do you guys think? Do you believe Wuwa will do better than ZZZ in the long run? Or do you think ZZZ, being under Hoyo versus Umbrella, will be too much for Wuwa to overcome? I'm sure you all are excited to see, just like me, how everything unfolds in the coming months. I plan to play all 4 of these games and cover them on my channel. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. There's more to come.